The year was 840 AD. Louis the Pious's death led to a civil war between two brothers, Louis the German and Charles the Bald. Louis the German was in charge of the eastern province of the Frankish Empire, whereas Charles the Bald was in charge of the western Frankish Empire. Now, of course, as is the case with siblings and royal siblings at that, each one must have wanted a larger slice of the pie. And that culminated into a spectacular, massive battle on the plains of ARLES. A calm, nightly breeze would almost lie to anyone who would be looking at the battle, any onlookers to the battle, because what was soon to take place in front of them could be nothing short of mayhem. Welcome to the Age of Vikings mod, you guys. My name is Blade Master, and we're looking at yet another massive battle. This one is going to be played between East and West Francia, as I've just explained. It is the I've taken the East Francia faction in the Age of Vikings mod, and my opponent, Yawning Firefly Jaw, has taken West Francia. Now, there are huge amounts of similarities, but very few key differences between these two factions, and that's why I really think this mod is super fleshed out. Now, Louis the German, who's in charge of the Eastern Frankish Empire, or East Francia, has got these guys, the Alemannic Longbowmen. Now, they have 200 range, so they outrange basically everything that the West Frankian kingdom can bring, or Charles the Bald can bring. And they have the East Francia faction does have slightly better skirmish troops, it looks like. They have Scout Cavalry and Saxon Cavalry, whereas West Francia and Charles the Bald can only muster up Skirmisher Cavalry, who don't have the specialities of the Saxons when it comes to baiting enemy cavalry and traveling fast and traveling deadly. Now, what the West Frankians and what Charles the Bald does have is access to these guys, armored crossbowmen. In the Age of Vikings mod, they are an absolute terror for basically every faction. They have an incredible amount of armor. They have 46 armor, which is insane. They have 75 missile damage and 12 ammunition, which means they have plenty of ammunition to last them through the battle. The Alemannic Longbowmen, though, have 15 ammunition, as we see some fiery arrows, flaming shot, destroy some of the trees and pockmark the landscape. So he's got, Jaw has brought a couple of longbowmen himself, but the main focus of his army lies in what seems to be 6 total armored crossbowmen. And he spent an immense amount of money on them, so he has to spend a lot of effort to keep these guys safe. Which is why he's keeping them behind and letting the armored archers, which are actually pretty good archers, with 100, is that 100 armor? As we see some explosives. Louis the German did have some tricks up his sleeve in this battle, it is clear, because he brought 2 large onagers. When Charles the Bald said, "No rules, man, you can go and pick whatever you want," Louis the German took it to heart, and I took 2 onagers. Am I a dick? Yeah, but do I really care? No, it looks awesome. It's a night battle, it's a massive battle, and this just adds to it being even more spectacular. So a couple of Levy Spearmen are going to be the unfortunate recipients of all of this explosive fire. The armored archers behind have retreated, and they cannot outrange my Alemannic Longbowmen. I have killed off his skirmisher cavalry with my Saxon and Scout Cavalry, while the other 2 on the other side crested the hill. They were under the cover of the night and behind the safety of the hill. The West Frankian kingdom could not spot them, so they are moving up very, very sneaky. You guys, you better stay quiet, because they are actually moving into what seems to be a very dangerous position. If they move into this patch of woods, they have direct access to the Paladin Guardsmen and possibly even Charles the Bald, which could mean a very easy victory for Louis the German if he chooses to win, or if he chooses to kill them and thus win. Spearband and swordsmen make up the front line for Louis the German's armies, and the armored crossbowmen were destroying them. There was no chance for the swordsmen. Even the poorly trained swordsmen could not do anything against the highly trained and technologically advanced crossbows of Charles the Bald. Aside from that, there's not much to separate the 2 armies, but there does differences are in those really key areas. And another key area where the two armies differ is the access to cavalry. The Frankish armored cavalariae are head and shoulders worse than the Germanic Skara cavalariae. Much lower melee attack, which is a huge factor, and charge bonus is slightly higher on the Germanic Skara cavalariae as well. So the melee infantry is essentially the same for the East and West Frankians, but shittier cavalry, but access to crossbows, which is a massive boost. And yeah, I think that's about it from what I've seen. The Skara foot swordsmen and armored swordsmen are units that are common to both, as we see this Frankish cavalry charge into a couple of the Alemannic longbowmen, getting a good number of kills, but he is going to charge into Slavic warriors, light axe infantry that were hidden in the woods, and they were kept ready for a surprise attack with their high charge bonus of something like 57 charge bonus. So they were kept in the woods for a reason, but he's found out that I've got at least one Slavic warrior on the left patch of woods. On the right patch, he hasn't seen them yet. The swordsmen, meanwhile, are taking plenty of damage from the armored crossbowmen. Let's put that into cinematic cam as we see these poor fuckers get completely hammered by a bunch of crossbows. Or maybe it'll be completely anticlimactic. That would keep up with the shitty nature of this channel, wouldn't it? The armored crossbowmen. Oh no! I missed this. Meanwhile, the paladin guardsman has taken so much fire. I'm 100% going to put that in the highlight section. 36 men left with the paladin guardsmen. My Saxon and Germanic scout cavalry has basically paid off for itself, and now Jaw has finally realized it and pulled his general into safety and brought some of his Frankish Skara cavalariae, the best cavalry units for the East Frankians. But they will be no match to my Saxon cavalry, who are going to just pour in the fire from the woods and then retreat if they choose to attack. Now, as for the rest, there's not much going on. On the left flank, I've got some Skara foot spearmen, which are the best spearmen for both the Frankish factions. They are clad head to toe in armor, of course, very, very well armored units, and the shields on these guys just makes them look so utterly badass. I love this mod. I also have a javelin unit that's going to be running up with them. But on the flanks, he's got a much stronger contingent. He's got crappier cavalry, but he's got a lot more sword support. Now, you can see his cavalry coming in to advance. They're about to charge into my javelin men, but I'm ready to bring in my Skara foot spearmen. The javelins don't really fire back while he pulls away with his Frankish armored cavalariae. Now, he does have swordsmen, but I want to see the Skara foot swordsmen, which are these guys, I believe. They're Skara foot swordsmen, and they are not very strong. The best unit for the Franks, or for both the Frankish factions, doesn't necessarily come from their access to sword infantry. It comes from their strong, basically their strong archers in the East Frankians case, or the strong crossbowmen in the West Frankians case. The Skara foot swordsmen with 34 melee attack, 40 melee damage, nothing really to write home about. It's similar to the Italians. They have very good armored cavalry, and you'd want to make the best use of them, along with their access to better skirmishers than most of the factions. As we see explosive rain down the sky, and that's just one of the onagers. The other onager just pouring into armored swordsmen, just crushing so many of them. Absolute pandemonium going on in the fields of ARLES. Not really sure how you pronounce it. The Alemannic longbowmen need not fear running out of ammo, but they do need to fear against the cavalry. So I'm going to bring in my Slavic warrior, who are taking a steady stroll through the woods. Holy shit! Oh, wow, that just exploded straight on top of a horse. The Slavic warriors now meeting these Frankish armored cavalry, and look at that, from the charge bonus, these guys seem to be quite overpowered, to be quite honest with you. The Frankish armored cavalry just got slaughtered. 32 damage in this mod makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very, very useful. As we see these Frankish Skara cavalry actually caught up with the Saxon cavalry. The Scout cavalry. Scout cavalry seem to have spears, which is a very cool thing to have. That means they have a bonus for his infantry when it comes to melee combat as well, which means that they'll put up a much better fight. You can see they're killing one of these Frankish Skara cavalry, but they did manage to kill off the Saxon cavalry of the East Frankians. But I managed to use my unique tools to my advantage, as we see a cavalry of mine, my Germanic Skara cavalry, charge into one of the crossbowmen. So that is a huge get for me. The armored crossbowmen are very expensive, I believe, and they are very, very powerful. But so are my Germanic Skara Cavalry, and they only managed to kill one of them while I try and pull through and attack the rest. The Frankish armored cavalry are going to chase after them, and now with the swordsmen in supports, even though I'm pouring in explosive pots from way downtown, there will be enough support for my Germanic Skara cavalry to not win this engagement anymore. But speaking of support, my Slavic warriors are doing their utmost to win out, to basically be a decisive force when it comes to winning my right flank. My Skara foot spearmen, Skara foot, Germanic Skara cavalry, I charged into his Skara foot swordsman, which is a huge get again. 52 kills with them. The Skara foot spearman is now holding off against Skara foot swords and levy spears. On the other side, his swordsmen are in shield wall, and here my Slavic warriors just pushed through and punched through the Frankish armored cavalry, while my Saxon cavalry pours in crucial javelins from the distance. Armored crossbowmen still haven't really made their presence felt, and on this side, it's going to be they're going to have to pull away very, very quickly. I'm rushing in with Germanic Skara cavalry from all angles, basically all the way from the front. But I'm going to be forced to pull back because he manages to safely rush them away. And I'm going to do the same thing for this Germanic Skara cavalry. I do have one spear warrior and two spear warrior. I thought I had another Skara. I guess I don't have another. Yeah, I don't have another Skara foot spearman. Hold on, you guys. Yeah, okay. So he managed to pull away his crossbows, which is a massive point in this battle. You can see my Skara foot swordsmen and and Germanic nobles, which is the best unit for the East Frankians, which I believe the West Frankians might not have. And they look even more badass than the Skara foot swordsmen. But all in all, even these guys, nothing to write home about, because only 44 melee attack. Usually you see elite swords in this mod get something like 56 melee damage, and weapon damage, which these guys just don't have. The Saxon cavalry, though, here on the right flank, charging into Skara foot swordsmen and got plenty of kills. Healthy number of kills, and the Slavic warriors really just 184 kills already, killed off a cavalry unit, a spear unit, and now they're helping out against this Frankish armored cavalry. My Germanic Skara cavalry, while being head and shoulders better than the Frankish version, just not good enough because I didn't have the same amount of support. Here though, my my Germanic nobles and my Skara foot swordsmen going to rush patiently down rushing down patiently, if that makes sense, in their shield wall formation as braced West Frankians meet them. Both shield wall on shield wall. Some of these are Skara foot swordsmen versus armored swordsmen, and the Germanic nobles I would expect would win out against these armored swordsmen. But he does have all of these crossbows ready. I've been using my Alemannic longbowmen to pepper fire onto his cavalry in the meanwhile, but because there's no point in shooting at his armored crossbowmen, they're just too heavily armored for the Alemannic longbows to really make a difference. So I'm pouring in some fire onto his paladin guardsmen, getting a kill on the general. And here is a big mistake made by Jodha. Frankish Skara cavalry just charged it to braced Skara foot spearmen. I mean, it didn't really charge, it moved in, so their expert charge defense didn't really trigger. But yeah, that's them charging into the front of spears. That's a mistake you absolutely cannot afford to make in Age of Charlemagne. They're just going to get destroyed because they can't pull away. It's not like Rome 2. You can't pull away with cavalry here. Skara foot swordsmen getting shot to pieces by armored crossbowmen. Holy shit, look at the damage being dealt to. These are some of my most expensive swordsmen. They're getting hammered by armored crossbowmen. They have quick reload turned on, precision shot turned on. They're going to be absolute beasts. I did manage to rout most of his infantry, armored swordsmen running away. And here my armored swordsmen going to charge into full strength Skara foot swordsman. My Germanic noble has done really well, but now with armored crossbowmen on the flank firing into them, it's only a matter of time before they lose this engagement against Skara foot swordsmen, which are pretty good themselves. So yeah, Germanic nobles losing this very decisively. So what looked like a pretty easy win for me in the in the center of the battle is now actually turning out to be quite a decisive loss, because he's got basically three full strength sword units left at the end of this. But on the flank side, he's been forced to push away all of his crossbowmen to take flank shots and to keep them more protected. And now the crossbowmen are firing in to these engaged swordsmen, and basically he's managing to win out with all of these guys providing support. My Saxon cavalry has gotten a double XP chevron, but is now basically dead while it rear charged another set of armored swordsmen. I'm coming in with a swordsman in shield wall, so they're going to help out against these armored swordsmen. But mainly, I should be using my javelin cavalry. So what I'm going to be doing is using one javelin cavalry to charge into these archers and these crossbowmen, and using the other Saxon cavalry to charge into these two engaged armored swordsmen. Sorry, one to charge into the skirmishers, one to charge into the swordsmen. So boom, boom. They pull through and they're going to hit the second set of skirmishers, the crossbowmen. But look at the amount of damage they're going to be taking here. Armored crossbowmen, though, they have died. And here, this armored swordsman is getting engaged by the paladin guardsman and a Frankish armored cavalry, which gives me a perfect opportunity to shoot with my Saxon cavalry onto engaged paladin guardsman units. Look at that, they took so much damage because they were forced to run away from my armored swordsman, which means that they would take a shit ton of damage on the pullout. The Scarra foot swordsman here taking some, in the... wow, this is a big bit of Miss Micro here. The Alemannic longbowmen they were rushing to meet the general, and they were about to meet their maker in the process at the hands of these Scarra foot swordsmen, because they were getting way too close to them. The Saxon cavalry here killing off the crossbows, which is massive. And my general, Louis the German, is sitting by his large onagers, commanding his troops, sending messengers from his vantage point next to the artillery, and pushing his troops forward. Charles the Bald should be termed Charles the Bold, because he was ready to actually get into the thick of things, but he was honestly forced by it, as many members of his bodyguard got killed by the sneaky Germanic cavalry of the East Frankians. The Frankish armored cavalry are now charging into Alemannic longbowmen, who are basically out of ammo at this point, which gives me a good opportunity with my spear band and my spear warriors to maybe chase them down and kill them. My Saxon cavalry now forced to try and just charge in and kill off the general. The Paladin Guardsman is a very, very strong unit. Look at the amount of health, the armor, the melee defense. They've got all the things everything going on for them. Armored swordsman here dying to Scarra foot swordsman. Scarra foot swordsman here dying to much more healthy Scarra foot swordsman for the West Frankins. But on the flank, on the right flank, essentially is where I'm winning. The left flank, I kind of won. But it's a very, very pretty victory, if you want to call it a victory. The right flank is where I'm overwhelming my opponent with my Germanic Scarra cavalry, which is killing off this armored swordsman, inflicting a morale damage and causing them to rout. In the center, my Alemannic longbowmen have killed off this Frankish armored cavalry, which did a huge bit of damage, to be quite honest with you. And now my Saxon cavalry, the units that have really helped me win this game so far, win many engagements so far, is going to charge in, and oh wow, rip Saxons. They just charge into armored crossbowmen who just destroyed them, slaughtered them. This Saxon cavalry as well, they're light, so they're not going to be able to do too much. The scout cavalry, the Scarra foot swordsmen have more than enough staying power to kill them off. I do have this swordsman at 39 men, Scarra foot spearman at 31, another Scarra at 35, and a Germanic Scarra cavalry at 59 men, which is probably going to be my the main unit now, because this armored swordsman is this Frankish armored cavalry is not being managed by Jaw. They routed, but they did come back from routing. This could be a very important unit, but now it's getting caught by swordsmen, and that means when it tries to move away, it's going to be dead. So that means that's the end of that one cavalry unit. My scout cavalry, our Saxon cavalry here, are doing a great job in just ensuring that all the routing units stay routed and off the field or basically dead. He does have an armored crossbowman here, but the general recently died, and hopefully I bring that to you guys in the highlights section. The general has recently died, which means along with flaming shot and all that good stuff, the Alemannic longbowmen are going to ensure that the Scarra foot swordsmen start to rout sooner rather than later. Heavy shot being poured in, killing off a lot of these Scarra. and my Germanic Scar Cavalry are getting ready to charge into them. And let's take it into cinematic cam as the strongest cavalry unit for the East Frankians destroy one of the best sword units for the West Frankians. Scarfoot swordsmen just get clobbered there. A full strength Germanic Scar Cavalry is a scary sight. Honestly, I would even like them better than shock cavalry. I don't like shock cavalry essentially in Age of Charlemagne because they tend to die very quickly, and if you can't pull out a cavalry unit, what's the real point of bringing a shock cavalry? I mean, I shouldn't really say that because I did really do quite well in the last massive battle with the Lombards Royal Lancer, but let's treat that as more of an exception to the rule than saying that and then saying that shock cavalry in Age of Charlemagne is good. So charging in with my Scar Cavalry here, my Germanic Scar Cavalry, killing off the Scarfoot swordsmen, and that is basically all she wrote for this game, because the armored crossbowmen do have a lot of ammo, but there's so many troops here left. And of course I have my general, Louis the German decides to finally show his face in battle. To be quite honest with you, I had completely forgotten about my general until this point, too busy microing the rest of my units. And while bringing so many crossbowmen, it sort of paid off for Jaw. I think maybe bringing some more, making better use of his spears would have been, I think, maybe a better idea. But you guys would have a bet. You guys would be able to know more, because I'll be taking a second look at this while I make my highlights videos and make the little picture-in-picture effect that you guys seem to love, which is really cool. Let me know if you guys like these effects. I know most of you probably like these effects, but if you like the massive battles, and if you like my new focus on Age of Charlemagne. Wow, this is beautiful. I need to pause. Nothing, it's not quite a late master video without taking screenshots. Louis the German clobbers a Scarfoot swordsman. In one go, so many of them die. And that gives me ample time for my spear band to catch the last remaining crossbowmen. And here it is just a massive pile of horses and soldiers against bloodied, wounded West Frankian soldiers. So Louis the German manages to win a very Pyrrhic victory against Charles the Bald, but takes the decisive Battle of ARLES and takes this very important strategic region. I have no idea where it is actually, but did a little Wikipedia research, and it turns out the East Frankians did battle against the West Frankians. Well, surprise, surprise. Whenever there's something called East and West something, then there's always going to be a bunch of battles behind that. The Alemannic longbowmen were kind of not really very well used. You can see only one of them got a single XP chevron. There's not too much that you can expect with Alemannic longbowmen against West Frankians heavily armored, mainly heavily armored roster. The Frankish armored cavalry did pretty decently, I guess, but my cavalry did shine supreme at the end of the day. The Saxon and Scout cavalry were probably the MVPs of this match, along with my large onagers, which got around 200 kills at the end of the game. But let's take a quick look at the two East versus West. East Francia is over here, and let's put another thing here, and let's put West Francia. East Francia does have access to Germanic nobles, West Francia does not, and West Francia has access to Palace Guard in return, whereas East Francia does not. Axe infantry, not the Slavic warriors, which are beautiful units, not available for West Francia. But West Francia have the really nice, quite cheap and very cool, very sturdy. Well, no, actually, armored archers only have 10 armor. Never mind this shit. Alemannic longbowmen, awesome. The Germanic Scar Cavalry are 900 in cost, whereas the Frankish have Schola Cavalry, which are even better. Wow. So Frankish armored cavalry for Charles the Bald wasn't really very good, but it wasn't very expensive on the other hand either. So Frankish Schola looked to be quite good. They do have access to only skirmisher cavalry, whereas East Frankians do have access to Scout and Saxon cavalry, which are head and shoulders better. So, hope you guys enjoyed this battle. Let me know if you want to see more of these massive battles, and if you want to see more of the Age of Vikings mod. And mod download